Welcome back to Mysteries of the Church. As with any sacred ritual, proper procedure in the making and distribution of the Eucharist is held in the highest regard. Recently, we had the opportunity to see how altar bread is prepared firsthand. The Catholic Church requires that only unleavened bread made of wheat flour and water may be used. The same kind of bread believed to have been present during the Last Supper.
Anybody who's familiar with receiving communion knows that this is not like the bread you buy in the supermarket. It is made simply of wheat and water. That's an end to it. No additives of any kind, simply wheat and water.
This is something that is not always easy for certain parts of the world where, for instance, barley predominates. But the guidelines are fairly clear. It has to be from the grain of the wheat. For a number of years, people in different parts of the world have been using local products to try and confect the Eucharist. But this is a universal church which everyone has to be on the same page. And so using the same elements in order to confect the Eucharist is, at least in the minds of the Roman dicasteries, the proper way to go.
The Church has, I believe, always felt, whether implicitly or explicitly, that to use something else than wheat bread, and, for example, rice bread or potato bread or rye bread, to use something else than what Jesus himself used would be to insert a flaw. In fact, would be to overturn what Jesus intended to be done.
Even what we consecrate the bread and the wine in, the vessels which we consecrate the bread and the wine in, they have to be not unbreakable, non-porous cups and plates, chalices and patens, okay? And in our tradition, made out of a precious metal, but unbreakable and non-porous. So none of the blood of Christ is perpetually absorbed into that cup. So it's a pretty important aspect of life.
In the Diocese of Brooklyn, the cloistered order of Discalced Carmelite nuns makes altar bread. I'm with the Carmelite sisters here in Brooklyn, where the bishop has granted us permission to enter the cloister to show you how to make altar bread. Today we're going to be making white altar bread, so let's get started. The first step is to add the water from the water chiller, which controls the amount and the temperature, which is very important when making altar bread. We will be adding 26 litres of water and 22 kilos of flour. For white altar bread, we're going to be using organic unbleached flour. Now before we add the flour, we have to get the machine started. We're going to gently just keep adding the flour as we go. Now here's an interesting part of the process. Once the mixture is complete, we're going to perform a test to see if it is of the right consistency. So we're going to take this silver cup, which actually has a hole at the bottom. We're going to cover that with my finger and fill the silver cup up to the top with the batter. Now once I've got it even, let's just make sure this is even. Once I release my finger, it has a minute to fully drain, and that's when we'll know that we have the correct consistency. There we go, exactly a minute. So now that we know that it's of the right consistency, we're going to empty it into another container and take it over to the baker. We're going to use this plastic container to empty the mixture into to take it over to the baker. So we're going to push this down button right here on the machine and make sure, oh, there we go. Okay, yeah. just going to drag down every last bit because we don't want to waste any of the mixture. Now we're going to push this mixture over to the baker. Once I bring the batter over to the baker, the first thing I need to do is put this blue plastic tube into the mixture. Oh, it needs to be further over. Now this will send the batter up the plastic tube, and it'll be evenly dispersed onto the plates, which will actually bake the altar bread. Okay, once it has come around full circle, it will produce a freshly baked sheet of altar bread. The altar bread comes in different sizes. Some are larger and some are smaller. And the Carmelite sisters will do this every day. And sometimes probably burn their fingers in between, which I'm trying desperately not to do. There we go, that's a good one. And as you can see, this one has larger posts on it. So put this one carefully. Once this whole process is complete, we're going to fill the box with the altar bread, and then we're going to leave it in the humidifier overnight. Once the baker has made the bread, it is brought to the humidifier and left overnight. That happens so that the bread can soften, so that it is more easily cut. It is then brought over here to this machine, which will cut the different sizes of hosts. So once we place the bread right here, the machine will do the rest. The Carmelite sisters would take the freshly cut altar bread and put them in the top of the machine. It would eventually come down, and what happens is this area of the machine counts out exactly 500 altar bread. Then the sisters would package them in a plastic bag to preserve its freshness. So they just hit down. Whew. So there you have it. And now this bag will be shipped off and sent to your local parish. The Carmelite sisters take such pride in their job, producing altar bread that will soon be consecrated all around in various churches. Once consecrated, the Eucharist is considered sacred, and accordingly, the way the host is handled and reserved is taken with great care. The care taken in the preparing and handling of the Eucharist is testament to its reverence among the faithful. But what happens when the Eucharist turns into a flesh-like substance and a red, viscous fluid before your very eyes? When we return, many flock to a little church in Italy to see evidence of what is considered by many to be a miracle. Mysteries of the Church will be right back.